You're listening to Copy Chief Radio. Get all the episodes and join the community at copychief.com.
Hey everybody, it's Kev. Welcome. So glad you're here. I am with Justin Blackman today. You probably know about Justin already. And if you don't, man, buckle up, because we talk all the time in this industry about voice. You know, you should know that I would call it the number 2 biggest concern of any client I've ever worked with or connected with a copywriter. It would be number 1 if there weren't just normal hiring people things in front of that. They want somebody reliable, of course. They want somebody to have the proper experience. Number 2 is voice, even above price, voice, because, you know, most business owners got to where they are by having a strong voice that people know, recognize, appreciate, respond to. And to the idea of having a copywriter come in and speak or write as you, or at least to your audience, is frightening. But it's a necessary thing for a business owner to do. You can't just write everything forever. And so when we talk about voice, we think of Justin Blackman, because Justin is the guy behind Brand Voice Academy. I'll let him tell you about some of his other ways you can learn from him. But I think what Justin does the best, and I got to experience recently, which we're going to talk about, is coming into a company and helping define their voice. If you have a voice, he'll make it better, more definitive. And as importantly, he can do what he did for me, which is separate my voice, which is well known, from what will be our brand voice. Because we've always had this problem of, well, should things always be for me, or can we also have a voice of Copy Chief and Kevin can have his own voice? And that's what Justin came in and created for us. So really incredible stuff. And, you know, if you're a copywriter, you've got to understand voice. You should really be learning from Justin, reading his books, taking his courses, because I promise you, if you can come into any client and say, no, I'm deep in how to take on a voice and help define a voice, that's going to be a huge plus for you. So Justin, welcome. It's great to have you here, my friend.
Yeah, man, it's a pleasure to be back. It's been a long time since we last spoke.
Way too long. I mean, your whole life is different as an entity in this business. When I think the last time I interviewed you, you had just done this epic thing of writing 100 headlines a day for 100 days.
Yeah.
Like it almost broke you.
in many ways it did. Yeah, I was still working in-house. I was actually still doing the project as we spoke to it. Matter of fact, I wrote day 100, like days 99 and 100 at the first Copy Chief Live.
Wow, during the event. Oh man, that's crazy. Yeah, and that's how it got on my radar. I was like, man, anybody who's willing to do, like, be that dedicated to, I'm like, you know more about headlines than most people walking the earth now. I can't believe we haven't talked since then, because your business has just evolved in so many ways. And now you are the guy with voice. So I want to get into this process I went through with you, because, man, it was just really stunning. I've told you this, but I want everybody to know, like, as a business owner, I've been around this industry a long time. People come in and do things for you. And sometimes they're good. And sometimes it's like, maybe that was a waste. But man, what you did, you came in and I was like, I just got to be part of your process. You led it. And all I had to do was respond. And then what you handed back to me after that one call we had was mind-blowing, honestly mind-blowing, man. Really good.
Yeah, so, it was fun.
Yeah, dude, it's such a unique process. We'll talk a little bit more about it. Very, very intricate, very involved. I was not an easy person to lead through it, as it turns out. I wanted every word to be associated with my voice.
Yeah, I think we started out with about 111 words, and we break them out into like the top 4 to 9 words. Then there's the important but not essential, and then there's the maybes and no. And I think out of the 100 and something words that we start with, I think you had like 49 of them were like essential. Like, all right, I think we ultimately got it down to about 6. But at first pass, you're like, no, I'm this, I have to be this, And then
Wow.
slowly you begin to let go and realize, oh, you know what? Maybe I'm actually not that.
Yeah, that was so incredible because over the space of, maybe 90 minutes, it was like, of course, these 6 are perfect. Well, I didn't need those others. But, in the beginning, it's like, yes, oh no, that's definitely how I am. And that's how I sound. So that was a cleansing, like therapeutic in its own right. Just that process,
Yeah, it's a little cathartic. It's kind of one of the common themes that happens is people have this idea of who they are and they embrace their whole personality. But what this project actually does is it separates your voice from your personality, because voice and personality are not the same thing. Voice is the verbal identity of your personality. So by doing this, you kind of realize, yes, these things are me, but they don't actually come out in my writing. And this is part of my identity, but I don't talk about this and it doesn't overlap with my business. And I think that's one of the things, without that being defined, a writer will have a really hard time knowing what to put into the words, because they know you, that they know that you do this stuff, but it's not necessarily what you talk about. And it's not how you write. Getting crystal clear on the elements that should come out through your copy and how and where it should come out, that's where the guidelines are laid, and the writers know exactly how to emulate that with that process.
Right. And it's kind of instinctive for the person who writes that way. That's how they've been writing. It is very clarifying to identify the differences between the actual you and the writing you. Otherwise, your stuff would be all over the place trying to get everything in, and that you can't share every thought you're having at the time. You want to be concise, but more so for helping someone else come in and write either as you or a parallel to you, as we did. I want to point out that you've done this process that you did with me for some of the most distinctive voices in our industry. Amy Porterfield, Stu McLaren, Todd Herman. I mean, talk about people who have a loyal following, and their followers and fans know their voice very, very well.
Yeah, they're all people, and they've worked with great writers, and some of them have gotten their voice perfectly. Some of the writers that they've hired are absolutely fantastic writers who have written great copy, but got the voice wrong, and it actually resulted in bringing in the wrong audience. So these elements are really, really important for maintaining consistency and authenticity throughout a buyer or a reader, throughout their entire journey. Because if the voice is wrong on the first page, and that's what's attracted them, and that's what they sign up for, but that's not what they actually get, it results in more refunds. It results in confusion. There's just a mismatch with everything. And the person's a little bit on edge those first couple of days that they're in the program. And sometimes they never actually go through with it.
Yeah, it's all about resonating. I mean, the most valuable thing anybody can pay us is their attention, now more than ever. And what you do with it when you get it is everything. And like you said, if the voice is off, there's nowhere for them to go from there.
Yeah.
Right on the next page could have been the person they were looking for, but it was misrepresented on the first page. And so,
yeah, it happens all the time, man. And, in my early days, I'm just as guilty of leading copy with my voice rather than the client's voice, because they hired me and they liked my style. So that's what I gave them. But then they're like, oh, this is really cool. I can't use it, but I love it. Like, well, all right, since it's not really good. Like, good copy in the wrong voice is not really good copy. So it's one of the things that we had to kind of clarify, be like, well, what is it about my style that you like, and what can we adapt to this? And it took a long time to figure that out. And there are times that I still get it wrong, but now even if I do, I know exactly how to fix it, because I can break down the voice into measurable elements and know exactly what to adjust. By having this process and framework, it really just gives a lot of clarity. So you don't just get the vague feedback of this doesn't sound like me. You can identify the three main elements of voice, which are vocabulary, tone, and cadence, to figure out what it is that you need to adjust. Sometimes it's one thing, sometimes it's two, sometimes it's all three. But having specific feedback and elements to change and to alter, you can begin to dial it in to sound more like your client, if not exactly like them.
Yeah. And, so relevant now because obviously AI has come in and changed a lot of things and threatening to change more things. Everyone universally would agree the thing that it does not do well is voice.
Yeah.
People are like, oh, you could tell it to change this tone or that tone. It's still very, very vanilla and standard and If you say, make it sarcastic, it's like, hey, listen up, everybody. I'm like, I don't think that's sarcastic. Like, again, for copywriters, if you want to have an edge and you want to be indispensable to your clients, even if they're like, oh, how much? Don't worry about how much I'm using ChatGPT. You may be using AI to get you a nice first draft, but without having you who understands voice to come in and make it sound like it's supposed to sound, it's going to be useless.
Yeah, AI is getting better, and there are ways of getting it to dial it in. But again, unless you know the specific elements of your voice and the exact levels to program into AI, you have a very little chance of getting it exactly right. And even if you do have that, AI is still kind of giving you averages of it. And it doesn't take into account your personal experiences and all these little elements and viewpoints that really are essential to figuring out your outlook and how they come across in your writing. Because the fact is, as much as we do have one voice, we talk about things differently depending on the topic. I joke around and I'm very playful in my copy when I'm talking about just copy in general, just writing, just life. I have a playful style. When I'm talking about voice, I'm kind of, for lack of a better word, I'm pissed off because the way that voice is defined by most businesses, by most voice guides, is so generic and wrong that personally, it stalled my career and ruined my confidence because I was working off of a voice guide that was so generic that everyone was able to have an opinion and everyone was right. So I could never defend my copy. It really did destroy my confidence and it held me back for a long time. So I'm still angry about that. But when I help copywriters, it's not that I'm angry, it's that I'm protective. I want to help them. So I have more of a parental style. So even right there, the way that I'm talking about copy versus voice versus teaching voice, there's three very different styles and the vibe changes. And you can, if you know what to look for, you can see exactly where and when it changes, even in one email. You can see my approach. If you were just to program in to like write like Justin in AI, they actually can do that, but it's going to apply the wrong themes to the wrong topics. So everything's a little bit off. I can know why, but the average person probably doesn't. They know it's wrong, but they don't know why it's wrong.
Right. Yeah, really good point. And that's not what you want someone thinking as they're reading something feels off here.
Yeah.
And they don't know what it is. I'd almost rather they did know so they could ask me if they were so inclined. Clarify this for me. But if they just feel like something's not connecting, they're gone.
Yeah.
And speaking of the nuances of this in the levels of it, you created a really cool tool called Verbatim. It's something like a Hemingway app for voice.
Yeah.
Which I believe you still give away free. Is that the case?
Yep. Yeah, Verbatim is still free. But yeah, when I measure voice, I literally have spreadsheets and calculators and a dozen different tabs open on my computer. And I was using Pro Writing Aid. I was using Hemingway. I was using Grammarly. I was using gender analyzers, word counts, these tiny little nuances to help me figure out these different elements of voice. And it was ridiculous how many tabs I had open. And I was like, I just wish that there were a tool that would allow me to do everything at once. And if I could have it where I can compare two different pieces of copy side by side to identify the patterns visually, that would be fantastic. And then, I mean, it didn't exist. So rather than having like a Chrome browser and a Safari browser, both on Hemingway and doing it side by side, I spoke to a couple of coders and they're like, yeah, we can do that. It's actually pretty easy. Most of the stuff is open source code. We just need to build the house for it. So we did that. And now I have something that I can work side by side. And it actually works really well with AI because if I have an output that I know is wrong, I can pop the original in there and then I can work on it literally right next to it, side by side, to see how everything is changing in real time, to see how it affects the readability and the tones and just the cadence of everything. So yeah, that was
it's amazing.
That was fun to put all that together.
Where do people go to get that? What's the link?
You can go to verbatimtool.com. Is the easiest URL for it.
Verbatimtool.com. You won't believe it. I don't think you'll write without it. It's kind of like if you love this, having that guidance, and at least go check it after you write your Google Doc draft in there. And that's the difference. It'll make suggestions, which other apps don't do. But you know what really struck me, Justin, was I got to see behind the scenes when you were building it out. And I saw the spreadsheet of all the different nuances of voice and how they're, kind of weighted. How long was that list?
Oh, I think there's about 14,000 words in there. And those, I'm not going to take credit for building that. That's all open source code. I always say the verbatim is built on the shoulders of giants. There are people that came before me that put this code on the internet, and we just put all of the different elements into one place. So we are working on a couple of different resources for the next round that might have some of our own proprietary stuff. But right now, I do want to give credit to the people that did all this stuff before. But there is an emotional lexicon where I think it was based off of a Reddit thread where someone, probably a research intern, would literally go through and rank every single word with the emotional, positive, neutral. I think there are 14 different ways of defining every word. And someone did this with 14,000 different words, which is used to now program sentiment tools. That data applies to all of our copy. And we can get a little bit more nuance to see how certain sections are the emotions and the feelings that they're evoking.
Wow. It's just mind-blowing. Yeah, this stuff goes deep. All right, so let's talk about, to give people a sense of your process. And again, first of all, do me a favor, just like lay out your different products, because someone's listening right now, depending on where they're at, what are the 2 or 3 ways they could learn from you?
Yeah. So if you are a client, I do offer brand voice guides where I create the documentation of your brand voice that will codify it. And it basically acts as an onboarding guide for copywriters. So when you hire someone, you can give them this document that says, this is exactly how I write. And it's everything from like the do's and don'ts of your vocabulary to average sentence length, everywhere from like the AP style guide to like if you were to write the word princess's tiara, is it like S' or S'? All these little nuances, the pet peeves, the things that you don't realize matter to you until you see another writer do it differently. And it evokes this it's just like, it's visceral.
Anger, like, outrage.
Yeah, how dare you put spaces around the M dash? Things like that. So it's got all those little elements. That's on the client side. For copywriters, I have training programs. One teaches you the foundations of voice. And then there's another one that teaches you how to create voice guides. So it's sort of a continuation of that. I have a pre-recorded and a live version of that. And then I also have a program called Write More Personalitier, which was really kind of my voice guide. It was all the little tips and tricks that I had learned for writing for 329 different people, the elements that they did differently that stood out. So sort of document that. So there's 81 ways to add punch, power, and pop to your everyday writing. And all of that's at Brand Voice Academy. That's the suite. Everything voice.
Okay, great. Perfect. I just wanted to make sure that was all there because the mega shift is what you brought me through. But that's only for sort of an established business with a voice that needs, but I think this is so important for copywriters. And it's just cool to me that you share this and you teach it for all copywriters. Because like you said, it was very frustrating for you and actually held you back that you didn't have these kind of guides and clear ways to bring this stuff into the work definitively.
It was a big challenge. And it was my business partner, Abby Woodcock, who another one of your proteges that really introduced me to the suite of this. It was originally the Codex Persona, which we became partners. We rebranded as Brand Voice Academy. So now it's a house for all things voice, writer side to client side.
Ask any experienced freelancer and they'll tell you that getting started and landing those first few clients, it's the hardest part. If you're struggling to find consistent work, you want to build more confidence in your skills, or you're just starting out in your freelance journey, don't worry. That's exactly why I created Escape Velocity. It's my step-by-step coaching program for how to kickstart a freelance career, attract quality clients, and confidently deliver great work. Let me help you find and close good gigs so you can quickly launch and grow a successful and sustainable freelance writing business. Learn more at copychief.com/EV. Copychief.com/EV. I'll see you there. Let's talk about this process. And again, so it starts with this call we had, and there is a slew of words. So that go through the categories again.
Yeah, we have a ton of words and we break it down into yes, there's no, maybe, there's a hell no, important but not essential, and then your top 4 to 9.
Picture like a stack of Post-it notes, because that's exactly what they are, but digital.
Yeah.
And Justin just pulls them out and says, you look at it and you say where to put it. And, this is hell no, this is not me at all. Like say like aggressive, right? I'd be like, hell no, I'm not aggressive. Again, how many total?
I think that it starts with about 111 words. I don't remember exactly.
Yeah. And so out of that whole stack, and then you just keep kind of moving them around the board until you start to, and as Justin pointed out, I was an extreme case, but you're going to have way too many words and way too many boxes, and then you're going to start pulling them out, which is a great process of elimination. And then you get down to basically 6 words that define your voice. That is really revealing in itself. But we discovered something interesting in the process, particularly me, because you had used me as an example of one of the types of voices.
Yes. Yeah. You were originally the definitive friend at the bar. It was based off of you. It was the line that we used to say it is like, hey, here's a cool thing. You like cool things. I think that you'd like it. I might have that a little bit wrong, but that's like the intro to your podcast. You were the definitive friend at the bar. The persona is based on you. And now you're not that.
I'm not that anymore. That's what we discovered. And it was like, wow, what a trip. Yeah. And so I went from friend at the bar to parental. And the other one was what?
It was Yogi.
Yogi.
Yeah. It was about the transformation. It was about bringing people to reach a different level.
Yeah. And it was so interesting to me because, and you and I talked about this because we're both kind of funny people. We like to have fun.
Yeah.
And I used to have first of all, that was just my instinct when I was, a bit younger and fresher off of comedy and all that, right? I would just naturally kind of write funnier. And then I noticed that I kept transitioning, like I would default to more on the serious side or the meaningful. It was more inspirational. And that was just where I was like naturally inclined to go. And I was fighting with myself for a while. There would be this voice in my head that, as I'm writing going, why so serious, man? And I would like say, okay, today I'm going to write something funny. And it felt like work, and through this process, it gave me permission to just kind of let that go. And it's like, there are funny moments and things like happen, but that doesn't have to be how you're defined anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think anyone that talks to you is still going to enjoy themselves. You're just naturally funny, but it's not necessarily the key piece of your identity anymore. And it's not necessarily the foundation of your voice. It doesn't come across in your writing anymore because it doesn't have to. You have more important things to say and you don't have to hide behind jokes, or you don't have to lead with jokes. What you have to say is more important. And sometimes it's a little bit heavier.
I am a heavy cat. It's funny, but because my favorite email copywriters to read are you, Daniel Throssell, Chris Orzechowski, and Cole Schaefer. And Cole is on an island from the rest of you guys.
Yeah.
Super serious, heavy, but I feel so connected to Cole when I read his stuff. Mm-hmm. I connect with the rest of you, but such distinct voices. But the thing about the other 3 of you, incredibly funny, all of you. Like I know I'm going to laugh out loud at least one time reading your stuff, and I'm going to feel like I'm really like sitting at the bar with you, just having a great time, and hearing something interesting. It's going to be entertaining. But whenever I talk to Cole, like in real life, it's the same conversation. I mean, within 3 minutes of us starting a conversation, we're suddenly on like the heaviest topic. There's only like 5 people in the world I talk to about this at all. And we're 3 minutes in and we're having this conversation. You know what I mean? He's just that kind of cat. And so again, it's that genuineness. And by the way, all of these people are going to be in Nashville at the event in October 4th through 6th. I'm just so elated to have all my favorite copywriters and people who are particularly heavy on email that I read everything they send out in a room together. We're going to sit at the bar together. We're going to sit at lunch together. And it's like a fantasy for me, man, to just watch all of us be who we are. And whatever other nutbags will come wandering over and we'll meet. You know what I mean? That's the great thing about my events and the way I like to do them is it's just an open event. There's no velvet ropes. There's no sections. There's no hierarchy. You know what I mean? And so you get to meet people in their truest sense.
Yeah, I love this event. It's one of my favorites to go to. Just the people that you meet, being able to identify to see what people are really like It's so eye-opening, and it just gets everybody closer and just makes you, I mean, people say don't meet your heroes, but I got to tell you, most of the copywriting events I've been to, I've met a lot of my heroes, and it is almost never disappointed.
Yeah. Isn't that great? That's such a great thing about our industry. I'm the same way. Very few I've been disappointed or surprised. It's like just an extension of what you thought they were, including John Carlton, who is just as salty and curmudgeonly, but also hilarious and can be lighthearted. And I always say about John, because he's such a hero to me, and it only got better. I've only become more impressed with that guy the longer I've known him, and it's like, that's so rare. And again, the thing that really stunned me, Justin, was when you delivered the Brand Voice Finder, which is sort of your ultimate report and complete summary and the guide that the company will then use. Because, man, I really got choked up reading the way you lay it out. So you have the brand personality, and it's not just a list of things.
Right.
You write out, how would you call it? It's like a summary of,
it's basically like a manifesto.
Manifesto, yeah.
Yeah.
So good, dude.
This was really, yours was a great case to work on because it was a chance to free you from Copy Chief. Copy Chief is not a personal brand, but it's always felt like a personal brand to you and also to us. It's always been Kevin. But now you have a team, and your team is really great and they're solid and they are experts at what they do. By separating you and giving Copy Chief its own life, it gives those experts a chance to step up. And not everything has to be Kevin, and they can own their expertise. And it doesn't even have to be you introducing them. It can just be them writing as them, and owning their authority, as long as they still have the same values of Copy Chief and they still have the same guidelines and the interpretation. So you're all working toward the same goal, but you're allowed to come at it at different angles to highlight your expertise, and it can still be cohesive, even though it's from different people.
That's been my dream for so long. I've been saying to my team for years now, it's like, why am I the only one talking? I get this. This is not for everybody. It's like, man, we have so many brilliant people and voices and ideas and leaders in our community. I want everybody in the mix. So I just want to read a little bit of what you wrote. And this is why I say you're the only person I know who can take all this information. So part of it's sort of like, for lack of a better term, clinical. There's a process to this, right? It's scientific, let's say. And then you process it through your writer's brain, and then you deliver it in such a meaningful way. So this is what you wrote for our voice type. And you said the go first. Mm-hmm. We are the dirty, the dusted, and the damn right. The did it's, the diehards, and the don't tell me I can't. We talk with bruises and scraped knees. We talk with dried blood from the founder's arrows that we've pulled from our asses and now use to roast marshmallows. We sit around the campfire sharing our experiences, laughing and speaking from the front, always reaching back to pull others forward and offer them the next seat. My God. Look, we can come up with something fancy like trailblazers or boundary breakers, but that's not us. We're just ordinary people who went first. Dude, I mean, and that's only half of the thing, but I mean, that's just beautiful writing, first of all. Man. But so accurate. And I'm sitting there and I'm reading it. I'm getting choked up now reading it again because I'm like, did I really create that? Is this what we've become? Because as business owners, you just keep moving and doing the thing you're doing. And to have someone like you come in, dissect it, and come away and turn it back to you in this incredibly meaningful, like you said, a mantra, and to share this with the team and say, this is who we are. And any new person on the team, anybody who's forgotten or needs to be reminded, it's like, this is who we are. Incredible gift.
Thanks, man. That one was so much fun to write. It took a while. I think I even sent you like a Voxer note, like when it finally clicked in. It's like, I got it. But it was like 4 days of agony. Just like, what is it? What is it? Like, it was right there. It was on the tip of my tongue, but I couldn't get it. So I was literally creating visual images in my head about what Copy Chief feels like. What does it look like? Mm-hmm. What does it sound like? And I was trying to create this persona of it. And then again, that's the personality. Then I had to separate the voice type. But I wanted to give people a visual image that they can sit around. So the campfire was a pretty obvious choice when I thought about the community feel to it, but it wasn't a closed circle. It always had an opportunity for other people to join. And just the thought about when they join, it's not just walking up to the campfire. It's someone reaching back and pulling them in and offering them a seat.
Yeah.
Those were some of the elements that I think can come across, but separate you from the general feel. And also like that dirty feeling, and even like the repetition of the Ds, just to have some of those stylistic elements, which I think are important to copywriters. So I wanted to have a certain sound and a cadence and a vibrato to it, and a very natural rhythm to it. But also with the copy chief, with the campfire, like pulling the founder's arrows out of your butts. There's that, but like everyone's a little bit hurt, a little bit damaged. We're not just the clean people sitting around in jeans and flannels, like in a perfect scenario. Everyone's a little bruised and broken, but it's also made us stronger. So it was all those different elements that I think that a writer or really any member of your team would need to understand to feel accepted and understand what the role is.
And then you give this great list of this, but not that. And again, if you only took this and handed it to a copywriter, they would be so clear on how to speak like you. So some examples: this, transformative, but not woo-woo; sharp, but not witty. That's a really interesting one. Respectful, but not subservient. I mean, it's such a difference, but just next to each other, right?
Yeah.
Direct, but not blunt. Intimate, but not creepy. Approachable, but not boundaryless. I feel like, we could write a book just on these and how to be this, but not that in life, and understanding the differences. Yeah. As developing soft skills as freelancers, right?
Yeah.
It's just so great, man. And then, as you said, in summary, this is Copy Chief: help people learn, show them the way, don't be a dick.
Yeah, pretty good summary, I thought.
So good, Justin. So, like I said, Justin will be at the event, and he's just the guy. If you understand how important voice is, it'll transform your business. It really will. And I genuinely believe this is so much more important than it's ever been in the past, because it's already happening and it's going to happen more. And people are going to start forgetting how important communication is because they can get it done cheap now.
Yeah.
And the people who don't take lightly what communication means, and that they're talking to people and affecting people's lives with their words and their content, are the ones that are going to rise above fast. People are going to quickly tire of not feeling things that they encounter. And if you can make them feel something and do that through a very distinctive, definitive, standout, authentic, interesting voice, then you're going to have a huge, huge advantage.
Yeah, especially if you can scale it. That's the whole point of the voice guide is being able to scale that authenticity, being able to writers to understand what makes you unique and being able to capture it in the right way. It frees you up to do other things, but still allows you to get your message across in the way that you want it to get across.
Yeah. Fantastic. Brandvoiceacademy.com. Be in Justin's world. Be on his list. His emails are phenomenal, fun, instructive. You're just going to love him if you don't know him already. And if you do, tell him you enjoyed hearing him on this episode. Thank you, Justin. Really appreciate it. And can't wait to see you in a couple months.
Looking forward to it, man.
All right, brother. Talk soon. Hey, don't forget your goodies. Head over to copychief.com/copychiefradio to get some great free stuff to help you put the things you hear on the show into action for your business. copychief.com/CCR.